Okay, we are good to go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the United Airlines NYC Half training panel. I had to look at my notes because we were doing the marathon panels recently. Welcome, everybody, those folks who are here in person, also those joining us online, I believe via our YouTube page for New York Roadrunners. You'll be seeing the live stream there. So, folks, this is the first, most of you probably know, this is the first of a two-part series of training panels that we are doing for the United Airlines NYC Half. I am guessing that most of you who are here are probably running the half, right? Yes? Okay, awesome. You are in the right place. So as we get started, just want to go over some basic logistical information. So some of you might know, or if you don't know, now you will know that we do have assistive listening devices available. You can always request them ahead of time. If you did not request one, you can actually see my colleagues to the right. Some of our Run Center staff can help you set that up for you if you do need that. And we do have accessible and gender-neutral restrooms that are available around the corner right behind us. And there will be closed captioning available on the YouTube video, so the live stream that's going up when that recorded video is available. Please just keep in mind that the closed captions are auto-generated, so they are not 100% accurate. Sometimes, actually, they're quite funny. Some other logistical information that I want to share with you. We will be taking questions towards the end of the panel. So if you have any questions, feel free to write them down. We'll take questions from the audience here first, and then we'll also be taking questions from the audience that is watching the live stream. Coach Steve is actually going to be monitoring that live stream, so please feel free to add those questions at any time. So for those folks who are wondering who I am, my name is Saman Wakad. I am the Diversity, Equity, and Social Responsibility Specialist here at New York Roadrunners. I usually moderate these panels because I'm an aspirational runner. So I'm here to help you all figure out what the terminology and everything is. And for those folks here in person or watching the live streams who might be low vision or blind, we do want to provide some basic physical descriptions. So I'll start with myself. I am a South Asian woman. I am wearing a bright blue fleece with the New York Roadrunners and New Balance logos to the right and left on the front. I'm also wearing a bronze-colored headscarf and glasses. And now we will move on to our panelists, the experts here. We will actually start first with Gemma Ward. Gemma is actually one of our coaches. She is an RRCA certified coach with a lifelong passion for running. Gemma loves coaching and has coached runners of all ages with varying levels of experience. She loves seeing athletes achieve their goals and loves sharing her passion for the sport. She loves running anything from short distances on the track to the quieter trails and cross-country events to loud road races. Running has been a way for Gemma to see the world as she's completed races and events across the globe. She's an experienced marathoner whose list of races and goals grows exponentially every year. Just so you know, Gemma is pacing the 2-hour group for the United Airlines NYC Half this year. Gemma.
Hi, everyone. I am a white woman with kind of dirty blonde hair. Tonight I am wearing a navy shirt which says Coach on it, and I am wearing glasses.
Thank you so much, Gemma. Next, we will move on to Atiya. Atiya Brown is a New Balance trackster. Atiya is a certified yoga instructor and a sound healing practitioner from New York City. Atiya has a decade of experience in the athletic apparel industry. As the New York City New Balance field marketing rep, she's deeply involved in the running community, merging her passion for fitness and holistic wellness. Atiya's unique expertise bridges the gap between athleticism and well-being, making her a standout figure in her field. Atiya.
Hello, everyone. I'm Atiya. I have blonde locks. I have a brown New Balance hoodie on, and I'm wearing black run tights. And I think that's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Atiya. And last but not least, we have Kate Baird. Kate is an exercise physiologist on the sports rehabilitation and performance team at the Hospital for Special Surgery. She is also the metabolic testing coordinator. She attended New World School of the Arts for a bachelor's degree in dance before moving to the Big Apple. So if you have any dance questions, you can ask those later. Then she graduated from Teachers College, Columbia University, with her master's in exercise physiology, while also maintaining her NSCA, CSCS, and ACSM EPC certifications. I do not know what any of those stand for, so you can ask her, unless you already know. She's also FRCMS, TRX, Kettlebell, and Human Matrix certified. She's very qualified. She is an exercise physiologist, and she has worked with runners, professional athletes, and weekend warriors, performing exercise testing, exercise prescription, and teaching group fitness. Kate is driven by helping people develop the knowledge and motivation to embody both their physical and mental best in life and to do things they want to do. And what you're probably very curious about, Kate is a runner, and she has run several races, including many halves and the New York City Marathon as well. This year, she will be running this NYC Half. Kate?
Thank you. My name is Kate. I have light brown hair, and I'm wearing purple all over, top and pants, because it's my favorite color. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So does anybody in the audience know when the half is? Is that the date, March 17th? Yes? Okay, great. We're on the same page. So March 17th is actually about 10 weeks out. I don't know if you knew that. So this is a great time for us to have this panel and for you to get some of your questions answered as well. So given that we're about 10 weeks out from the United Airlines NYC Half, we're going to actually start off with what our panelists think is the most important thing a runner should be thinking about to prepare for March 17th. So we're going to ask them to briefly answer this. I will actually start with Coach Gemma. How can a coach help folks 10 weeks out? And where should they be right now in terms of their training?
Great question. All right, so we are 10 weeks out, so we are quite far out from the half marathon, so we don't want to be hitting any of those big miles yet. We are right at the beginning of our training block. So we should be feeling nice and fresh. We should be keeping those miles quite conservative. So finding a coach, finding a group to run with is going to be really beneficial because that's going to help you with the next 10 weeks where you're going to be building up your base, building up your miles. So finding a coach would be this is like a really great time to find a coach that can help you with that.
Okay, great. So this is a very, very hopeful answer. We're 10 weeks out. This is a great time for you all to be here and learn a little bit more. And we'll talk to Coach Emma a little bit more later on how you can actually find a coach or a coaching program. Next, Atia, how can one find the right gear to train in? And what is going to be best for New York City runners? And how do runners know where to start?
So I would say definitely check in to your local running stores. I would invest in a great pair of shoes at this point. I would also consider getting layers and having options because you don't know what the weather's going to be. It's going to be pretty unpredictable, excuse me. And then also find local community. If you are going to run with someone, this is a great time to maybe start looking at what they're up to, what are they wearing, have great conversations with your local runners. And that's a great start, but it goes into details. There's a couple of stores you can go into. You can come to the Run Hub. You can go to the New Balance shop. There's a lot of options in there.
And for those who might not be familiar, the Run Hub is actually right up the stairs to our right, over here.
Yes.
And okay, so next, Kate, what are some things folks should be doing right now to stay healthy during training 10 weeks out?
Yeah, so I love this time of year because we're all sort of riding the momentum of a new year. It's a really good time to spend that Sunday night looking at your week ahead, looking at your running plans. When are you running? What are some of the other things that are going on work-wise, socially? And making sure that you've got time in there for those recovery days, making sure you don't have too many flip-flops of things that wouldn't allow you to rest properly. You want to start strong with something like this so that you can carry yourself through and build those mileage goals in a positive way. I think most importantly, if you haven't done any sort of strength training, it's a good time to investigate. What can I do? I don't even mean like an hour. I mean, what sort of exercises can I do to support the next 10 weeks? Planks, things with bands, really simple things that you can just slot in to different days, I think is a good thing to think about right now, so that you can look at the program over the next 10 weeks and make sure you have time for that.
Okay, thank you. And just so we can get an idea of what folks are in the audience, how many folks have run a half marathon before? Okay, about a good half. And how many have run any races before, like a 5K, 10K? Okay. Any folks who haven't run any races before, any big races? Okay, welcome to the party. Okay, so folks, now we're gonna get a little bit more into the basics. Let's talk about a current training plan. What should a current training plan look like with 10 weeks to race day, knowing that about half of the room has run a half marathon before? This time we'll start with you, Atiya. It is cold out. Depending on the day, it's a little colder, you know? And folks are probably wondering what to wear. Where should runners start with buying cold weather gear? And since you said, you know, we can't predict what the weather will be like, talk to us a little bit about rain and snow as well.
Okay. So, yes, if you're already familiar with your local run shop, you want to go there. Also, there's a ton of other options, athletic companies and brands. I would say stick with New Balance if you like. But I would definitely say the first thing you want to think about is your sweat wicking base layer. You want to make sure that that is going to wick the sweat off of you, but still provide some ventilation and also be nice and comfortable. So make sure that the fabric agrees with you. The next thing you want to do is have a thermal layer on top of that. That's going to lock in your heat, but also allow it to have some ventilation underneath the arms, so you're still having that breathability so you don't get overheated. The next layer is going to be a windproof or a waterproof thin shell. It's really up to you what you like, so I would say try on a couple. You don't want to get stuck with one thing and it may not be the best for you, so have options. The next thing you want to think about is your accessories. So we're thinking hat, gloves, and then sweat wicking socks or moisture wicking socks. Think about materials like merino wool. It is sweat wicking and antimicrobial, so it's not going to smell. You want to think about just other sweat wicking materials. There's a bunch of brands out there that have different names for their technology. One that I can say that I can recommend from New Balance is NB Heat. It is a great option as you're layering warmth. So look into those. And there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot on the market. So please just get familiar with some brands that you like. New Balance has tons of options online and in the Run Hub area as well.
Awesome, thank you. And if you did not catch all of those layers or you want to go back, the recording of this live stream will be available on YouTube later, and you can go back and kind of go through all the layers that Atiya talked about. And Atiya, can you touch a little bit on shoes as well?
Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of different options that will be great for rain and I would say snowy weather. We're going to cross our fingers that we're not getting snow that day, right? Yeah? Okay. So you want to find something with a great grip, right? So there's a ton of options that are on the market that are regular track or road shoes, but there also are winterized options on the market for some of those products. So we'll look into those. A good suggestion could also be a trail running shoe, just because you don't know if the road is going to be slick. But again, these are things that you want to incorporate into your training journey now so that you're not getting familiar with this product a week or two out.
So folks should try to get that gear a bit set early on, right?
Yes, because you want to experience running in that stuff now, right? So you don't want to have any hiccups a week or two before where you're like, oh gosh, this is not going to work for me, but I don't have enough time to try out another option.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we'll move on to Kate. How should runners decide whether to see a physical therapist or their doctor for an injury instead of waiting it out or doing home remedies, or as I like to say, looking it up on WebMD, but today I learned people look at TikTok now, not WebMD, so.
That's new. I'm not on the TikTok, so I don't know. So yeah, it's always a tricky question, especially with runners. We're notoriously good at ignoring our own injuries and just sort of going out and running anyways. But just to give you some sort of bookends to things, if something sort of comes out of the blue and it hurts, it's painful, it's painfully intense, and it's sort of sharp, maybe swollen, You can't put weight on your leg. Those are all indicators that you should probably make an appointment with your sports medicine doctor as soon as you can. Because at the very least, it's not going to hurt to have information about what's going on and what to do about it. More common are the sort of overuse injuries that we get, especially as we start to accumulate more miles. Overuse injuries are exactly that. We use our bodies, and these little injuries sort of creep up from accumulated inflammation. So in that case, the first thing that you're usually going to hear is take about a week, maybe 2 or 3 off. I know that's really tough in a 10-week training period, but at least a week. And if you do end up kind of getting back out there and you still feel the pain, if you're running different because of it, that's probably an indicator to go see somebody. I don't usually recommend that people home remedy most things, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to run. So it's just better to have the information in the end. But if it gets better, that does happen too.
And I don't know if you're aware, but or if you know, but do folks usually need a referral for a sports medicine specialist, or can they just book an appointment?
Usually, if you're in pain, you can just book an appointment. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
that provides ease.
Yeah.
They don't have to go through another doctor.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And Coach Gemma, how can someone pick a training plan if they don't have one? And we're still 10 weeks out.
Yeah, we're 10 weeks out, so picking a training plan is a really important task. You need to make sure that you're picking a training plan that fits with your personal experience, and it fits with your race goals as well. If someone's running a first half marathon, that's going to be very different to someone that's ran multiple half marathons and has got a different experience in the background of, this distance or running, if you've been running for a few years or if this is brand new for you. So making sure that you're picking a plan that suits you as a runner. So not copying the person next to you, your best friend, making sure that you pick something suitable for you. This is where group training, so New York Roadrunners offers group training. We have that great service where you can, meet with coaches during the week. Group training runs are fantastic. It's a way to make friends. It's also a way to, train for, this distance. We also have Coaching Lab, which you can sign up for, and you can put in, your past experience, if you've ran 100 half marathons or if you've ran 0, and it kind of tailors everything to you. So just making sure you're picking the right plan that is going to help you get to the finish line, fit and healthy and ready to get that beautiful medal that you receive when you get back into the park.
Wonderful. And where can folks find information on Coaching Lab and group training?
NYRR.org.
Wonderful. NYRR.org, or you can Google New York Roadrunners group training. Okay, so we're about halfway through some of the questions that we have for the panelists. Just want to give you a reminder that we will take questions from the audience. We'll give preference to the folks that are here in person, and we will also take questions from folks who are watching the live stream. Coach Steve is monitoring those, so please feel free to add your questions there. So let's talk a little bit about building up to long runs. So again, about half of the audience has done half marathons. There are folks also who have done 5 and 10Ks. For some people, this is probably some of the longest runs they're doing. So we're going to talk a little bit about the experience of building up the mileage. And I will start with Kate. What are some ways half marathon runners can avoid injuries as their mileage ramps up in intensity and volume?
Yeah, so kind of hearkening back to those overuse injuries, those are the most common ones that runners are going to face. And so as you start to get into your program, knowing that each week you're sort of turning the dial up a little bit on everything, right? Building up to that 13-mile run at the end. So my biggest advice is, first and foremost, to honor the effort that is assigned in your program. Whether you're doing a program that you found online or working with a coach, if it says an easy run, hey, go out and enjoy it. Like, have that easy run. Save your energy for those runs that are going to ask a little bit more for you, because those programs they're created that way to help you adapt and get stronger in a positive way, so you're not overstressing your body, but you're also still moving forward. So there's going to be easy runs, there's going to be hard ones, there's going to be some that are in the middle, and try to just commit to what's asked of you in that run. And then the second thing I would say is, right now it might feel really easy to do some of that strength training, whether it's 10 minutes at the end of your run, whether you have a whole day that you just go out and do 30, 45 minutes, an hour of strength training. It's going to feel easy now because you're not as tired. You haven't turned the dial up yet. But as you get closer to race day, try to hang on to some of those exercises, especially if there are ones that really make you feel good. I know me personally, monster walks are essential before I go on a run. It just helps my hips feel really stable. I feel warmed up. So find a couple of things that you can continue to do into weeks 8, 9, and 10 that maybe don't take away from your energy in those longer runs, but are still gonna be there to help keep some balance in your muscles, right? That's why they're there, to help offset that use from all those steps that you're taking.
Thank you so much. And Coach Gemma, in terms of building up mileage, can you give some advice to the folks here from a coaching standpoint?
Yeah, so from a coaching point, it's really important that we're not going out too quickly. We're not giving out everything immediately. So following that 10% rule. So if you've gone out and ran, 4 miles for your long run this weekend, next weekend we're going to be adding on that 10%. That's with your weekly mileage as well. We're not wanting to jump too far because that's when we have these overuse injuries, we have problems that arise that way. So making sure you follow that 10% rule with your running from where you are now and following it with that plan as well. So remembering 10% rule, don't do too much at once. If your friend's gone out and done, a longer run than you, that's fine. Their plan may be different. Remember that everyone's got a slightly different plan. Sometimes our enemy can be our own enthusiasm because, we feel really great. We're really excited. We've gone out, you've ran a few miles and you're like, I can carry on. I can do a few more. But that's when we run into that overuse. So making sure, you stick to that plan. You're not doing too much over and over again.
Okay, great. So both of the answers that we've gotten so far is stick to the plan. And if you don't have a plan, get a plan, because we're still 10 weeks out. And next, Atia, as we're looking at this from a gear standpoint, in terms of folks running some of the longest runs they may have been running or running when it's really, really cold, can you give some advice on that? And then also, is it ever really too cold to run from a gear standpoint?
Okay, so a couple of things I got to touch here. So I didn't talk too much in depth about shoes. So I want to circle back on shoes real quick. So there are a ton of really good shoes on the market right now. One that I would say I can suggest highly for this longer distance would be the 1080 V13. It came out last year. It's awesome. If you haven't been able to try it on or if you haven't seen it, look it up. Take a moment to look at it here tonight before you leave. And those online, I'm sure you can find it easily. But it's a great neutral running shoe, great amount of cushion. If you're not in a shoe that you feel 100% sure about, again, this is between now and 8 weeks is a really good time to figure that out. So just want to put that out there. The second thing is, again, cold weather is very unpredictable, so layering, again, is going to be your friend. The first thing you want to think about on those really, really cold days is your thermal base layer. I know I said sweat wicking prior, but it's good to have two options. So have something that's going to be for those really frigid days, and then one for where you can layer up with maybe something a little heavier on top and feel still a little bit breathable. Then you want to have that extra insulating layer on top. We talked about that. And then, of course, that windproof or rainproof layer. Now, that second thing I would say is please watch the weather. Now, that's going to be something that is going to determine on how you feel in your body. Again, if your friend is running in 28 degrees, if that's not what you've tried before, it might be a good day to take a rest day, maybe do something indoors. It's really going to be something that you have to decide. Layering, again, is going to be your best friend, but if it says extreme weather, I would stay home. Yeah, definitely. So that, I would say, don't forget your accessories. Make sure you have that gear for your head. Make sure you have your gloves. Make sure you have your socks. If you are someone who likes to run with your phone, make sure you have a secure pocket. These are just things to think about when you're getting out there. And if you wear tights, make sure that they have a fleece base layer. Some of them call them brushed, but having that additional layer is going to be necessary for your legs as well. So stay warm.
Great. So you have this week and maybe like next week, about 2 weeks to kind of figure out your gear, especially your shoes. You want to wear them in. You don't want to be trying to run a half marathon with shoes that you've been wearing for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, no new shoes. on
No new shoes.
race day.
We get this question later on. So you all can say we found out 10 weeks out. And also another thing was kind of stick to your plan. Don't compare yourself to other folks.
Yeah, stick to the basics. I think that's the most important thing. I think we all try to get fancy here and there and start adding things in there that we've seen on TikTok or on Instagram, or a friend told you to try this new protein powder gel. Like, really stick to what your body is agreeing with now. You don't want to make any additional changes last minute.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about mental preparation. We're coming out of the holiday season. Folks may not have been doing the best by their body, maybe eating a lot of satiating food, maybe not the most nutritious, maybe not working out or running as often. So let's get back to a little bit of the mental preparation, because we're still about 10 weeks out. Coach Gemma, we'll start with you this time. What are some mental tips to continue to stay motivated through training, particularly through this winter?
Remember that you signed up for this. Congratulations. It is really fun. So remember, you signed up for this. Why did you sign up for that? Was that, for a charity? Was it for yourself? Was it to run with a friend? So remember your why. I think that one is really, really important. Other ways to stay motivated, find a group of friends to run with. For your easy long runs, it's a nice chance to, catch up. You can finish, go get coffee afterwards, get warm inside. It's a great way, miles with friends, it's really fun. Sticking to your plan, if we do have extreme weather, message your coach or ping in the app, whichever, way you're choosing to have a coach, because we're all gonna have a coach here. Message them and, figure that week out, but really sticking to your plan is really important here, and dressing appropriately for the weather. If you can see there's snow, make sure you're wearing appropriate clothes for that. Again, with that, make sure it's appropriate for you. What you wear is going to be different for someone else. So if they're out wearing 100 layers and you're wearing a few layers, if that's right for you, that's also fine. Same with your plan. But really enjoy it. Enjoy your training, and then really enjoy the race itself.
Great. And for the folks who may not have friends who run or aren't part of a running community, New York City has a lot of run clubs, a lot affiliated with New York Road Runners, and actually you can go online and maybe even find run clubs. Some run clubs do also meet at the run center. There's lockers here, so that's another way for you to maybe kind of connect with people that may be going through the same journey as you. So next we will move on to Atia. Any final advice for runners out there?
I have a whole list because I always forget the good ones, so I have to look down a couple times on this one. But I would definitely say use your breath as your guide. Don't allow yourself to get to a point where you really feel like you can't breathe. Like, slow yourself down, listen to your body. If you feel yourself getting to a point where you're like, okay, I'm pushing it a little bit, dial back, really hone into your breath. That's going to be a key factor. Visualize you crossing the finish line. Like, what's going to get you there is going to be really important. Keeping your mind clear while you're running. Don't try not to get distracted. If you're someone that likes to run with music, okay, cool, do that. That's consistent in your practice, cool. But if not, put them in your pocket and listen to the crowd, listen to the cheers. There's going to be people running next to you that you smile at. That's going to give you motivation. There's going to be cheer stations. Like, really be present. Be in the moment. Like, you've worked so hard to get to this point, so don't let any little distraction, maybe before going to the bus, the person at the coffee shop wasn't so nice or whatever. Like, don't let anything deter you from being happy and celebrating yourself. And then one last thing would be soak it all in. Soak every little thing in. There's going to be funny moments, I'm sure. There's going to be some that you're going to take away like, wow, that was really hard, but embrace every little bit of it and don't forget your training. Yeah.
Awesome. And you said soak it all in. For the folks in the audience, has anybody run the NYC Half before? Yes, one person. Couple of people. Do you know the route of the NYC Half? What does it go through? What do we close on for this half marathon? Times Square, yes. So soak it all in. There's not a lot of things that Times Square gets closed for. So you all get to be part of that crowd. New York City has an amazing crowd of folks, whether that's from run clubs or just family, friends cheering you on. And if you signed up for somebody in your friends or family circle, make sure they're there. Put this on their calendar now. You're 10 weeks out. So make sure your cheerers are out there as well. And Kate, last but not least, how can runners who might have been sidelined by injury or who may unfortunately get sidelined a little later, how can they stay strong mentally?
So this kind of coincides with what everyone's mentioned, and that's, I think, leaning into your community. Almost every runner you encounter has had an injury of some kind, or an ache, or a pain. It's a shared experience among us runners. So if you find yourself in that scenario at some point, I think just being willing to talk about it with people that you trust, that you feel comfortable talking about it with, I think you'll find that, I mean, me personally, some of my most inspired moments have been hearing the stories of my friends and peers and maybe what they've gone through and saying, wow, like, you really overcame that. That sounds hard. Okay, maybe I can get through this too. Like maybe I can do something similar, whether that's getting information from a clinical perspective or learning how to home remedy things that you can, learning how to give yourself grace in your program and maybe pull back a little bit on the gas, if you're used to really pushing. I think lean into your community, talk to the other runners that are around you, or even just your friends. I mean, I've met people in adulthood who I didn't even know were runners, at work, and, if I just sort of bring it up, oh, I used to run, I've done this and that, I've experienced this. So you'd be surprised, how many people find themselves also sidelined, and just know that it's not uncommon, and you absolutely 100% can get through it and run again. That's I feel very comfortable saying that. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, folks, so now we are going to move into audience Q&A. And as I mentioned earlier, we will start with the audience here. If you have a question, please just raise your hand. Feel free to tell us your name if you've run the race before, and just try to keep your questions brief. So Coach Steve is going to go around. Do we have any questions from the audience here?
Any
No,
questions?
our audience
Yeah.
here. No, we have
It's
one.
always the first one's the hardest question, and then everyone's going to have a question after that.
Thanks for this panel. My name's Brian. I ran this when it was the opposite direction, so totally different. I guess two questions. First is just how do you incorporate strength training? And two, do you have any tips considering we're vaguely running uphill most of the time?
Okay, great. So strength training and running uphill.
So there's a couple ways to get into strength training. Certainly, there is no shortage of articles, great articles, online that kind of categorize, a few very simple to follow exercises like planks, calisthenics, those sorts of things, using some resistance bands. You can definitely source some of that online. If you need something that's a little bit more curated, I definitely recommend getting some kind of fitness assessment. I know the HSS, we do run specific assessments where we'll look at things that are correlated to runners, things that we know help with running, and then we usually write you a program, and that's something that you can do on your own. So whether you're accessing and sourcing the information for yourself, maybe asking a seasoned runner who is doing strength training, they've got lots of great exercises, I'm sure, in their back pocket. And a lot of this stuff, again, it's not rocket science. It's not super complicated. You can definitely find some great exercises that way.
And then with getting out there on the hills, if you can get out there on the course and practice running on the course, that's going to be really helpful. If you live close to Central Park, there's a few hills in Central Park that you can run, but incorporating, with your long runs, hills, if you can do some hill repeats during your midweek intervals, that's all going to be really helpful to tackle the few hills that we have in the course.
Great.
Gemma, on that, we had a lot of questions about course strategy. Now, I know you don't want to go over a whole 30-minute course strategy, but maybe talk about the key elements of the course, how to train for those key elements now in the 10 weeks leading up to the course.
Yeah, so making sure that your long runs, your easy long runs, are really easy long runs. We're going out conservatively with these as well. So we're looking, to start slow with those miles and then build them up as we progress with our long runs. Definitely not going out too fast. That's going to be really important, for everyone to remember. If that's one thing you remember from me, don't go out too fast. That's going to be really important information for you to have on race day.
Okay, and do we have any more questions from the audience here? We have one hand right here.
I'm coming. This is my workout today.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Sam. I have not run this race, and I'm here to support. I'll be running the Brooklyn half, though. So my question is a preference question, just to preface that. As far as, so 2 parts. Number 1, accessories while running as far as like vests versus belts. Okay, that's number 1. And then the second part of preference is like, what are your favorite mid-run snacks, gels, Stinger waffles, electrolytes, etc. Just preferences for fun.
I think I'm going to start with this. I think whatever you train with, stick to it. If it doesn't work for you, it's not going to work for you. So make sure that you find something that you like. And, if you like eating, SIS, your friend may not like that. So just make sure you do what works for you. Practice. You have 10 weeks to practice. That's a great question. 10 weeks to practice. With what works. I'm not going to say what I love, but really find out what works for you. If you can go to a specialty shop, buy a whole bunch of stuff and see what you like the most. We have stuff on course that you can use as well. If that works for you, that's fantastic because that's less that you have to carry.
Did anyone else want to add anything else? Mention your favorites.
I was just going to say I prefer to drink my food, so I'm like just Gatorade / water / maybe a Noon and some water. But like I'm a big fan of like you don't have to eat if if that does not work with me. So I drink my food on the course.
Whatever it is, folks should start getting used to that now, right?
Absolutely. I have a story of not following that advice and really having a terrible time. Just a no good, very bad day.
I remember somebody shared a story up here, and I forget who the person was, but they had an orange. It did not go well because they had never, prepared for their runs with an orange. So just keep that in mind. Start eating and running now with what you want to do on race day. Any other questions from the audience here? We have one up here. Coach Steve, sorry.
I'm coming.
Folks online, we will get to you. Apologies.
Hi, I'm Dana. So if you're talking about starting off on a very cold day and what you're wearing, what would be your recommendation? Because by the time you get to mile 8 and you're dying because you've worn too many clothes, do you have suggestions on how you can layer, in thinking about how you're going to feel down the road in mile 8 or 9?
Are you talking about training or race day?
Race day.
Okay, so you want to have layers that you're going to be able to shed, right? So think about what you already have in your closet that you may not be afraid to tie around your waist. It may have some run tights or shirts come with like a little hook or a loop that you can tie things on. I would say if you don't want to let it go, find a method for you to hang on to it because, again, at the end of the race, you're going to be cold again. So you're going to want to have something. Don't worry, at the end, you'll have your blanket and all that good stuff. They'll get you nice and warm. But as far as clothing, if you let it go, just know you're not going to have it towards the end. So I would say find out now what you're able to run with. That may be your lighter weight layers, or maybe one of those layers are a little heavier. See how you can adjust it. Some people do a little double knot across the chest. You can put it around your waist, but also, again, maybe find something that has it so that it stays on a little tighter. Yeah.
I think adding to that, if you have clothes that you can wear in the starting corrals that are going to keep you nice and warm that you can throw away, if you can go to like a secondhand shop or have something in your wardrobe that's going to keep you nice and warm until you cross that start line.
And those extra layers, just so folks are aware, that are that people toss before they start the race, those are donated. So all that clothing is donated, but we will not be able to get it back to you. So don't pick something very expensive or very valuable.
Yeah, don't do that.
Okay, so should we move on to an online question, Coach Steve?
Yes, one just came through that we haven't talked about yet. Let me see if I can find it quickly. Maybe for Jem, we have a question about pacers. How do you find a pacer, what they are, what's their goal out there on race day?
All right, finding a pacer. So at the expo, you're going to be, when you pick up your bib, there's going to be pacers there that you can chat to. If you have a goal in mind, chat to a pacer there or chat to a pacer that is going to say how they're going to race the race. A 1 hour 30 half marathon is going to be different to a 3 hour pacing marathon. So make sure you chat to the right pacer or chat to someone that can help you with your goal on race day. you can find them in the corrals. They have really big sticks that say, 2 hours, which is going to have a 909 on the back side of it. So you can kind of see what they're going to be doing. And they're going to be running even effort. So they're not going to be getting that 909 for every mile. It's even effort across the 13.1. And they're going to be getting you in slightly faster than that. So a 2-hour marathon is going to come in at 1:59:30. Okay?
Okay, wonderful. Do you have another
We
question?
have another
online?
question, probably for Kate, I'm assuming. A question about what kind of exercises do you suggest for heel pain? I know it's very vague, but heel pain. Someone's training for the race and starting off with an injury, unfortunately.
Oh, these questions are always so hard because
Yeah.
I just don't have any other context. I think you should definitely go check it out. Shoes, though, maybe might be something. Foot strike, overstriding. These are all things that you might want to look at to see what is causing and contributing to that pain. But I think everyone should have a good stretch routine, whether you have pain or not, and just making sure that the areas that need to be somewhat loose and restored following your runs, just definitely have some go-to stretches that make you feel good. And then, strike pattern. Are you overstriding? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can go into that. Sorry.
Yeah, I was definitely gonna say it may be your shoes. I would go to your local running shop to get fitted the right way. Some of the shops also have a scanner. They can go and take a 3D image of your foot to make sure that you have the proper support underneath your arches. Do you need a wide? Some people don't consider these things. Are the laces too tight? I would definitely check the cushioning. Do you need more cushioning in the heel? What are you running in is going to be very important to answer that question. So I would also try maybe to go to the podiatrist to make sure that there's nothing going on internally as well.
And for the folks who are local and you want to make sure you're wearing the right size shoe and fitting, you can actually go to the Run Hub, as we mentioned earlier, up here, or I believe any of the New Balance stores should have that, right?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Awesome. Any other questions? Yep, we have a question right up here.
Coming on my way.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Emerald. This will be my first half, so new runner. As you were talking about shoes, it made me think of a question around, as I'm increasing my miles, do you recommend switching out your shoes? Should I have multiple pairs of different shoes that I'm rotating with?
Yeah, I would say definitely have 2 minimally, but 2 to 3 would be a good place to be to alternate through your training. I would say definitely have one that's going to be more on the recovery side, have a pair of shoes that's going to be great for your short tempo runs, and then something for a little bit more of a distance. So those 3, think about max cushion, think about medium cushioning, even think about the technologies of the shoes that you're wearing. Is one of those going to be for long distance? Is that one of them going to be made to have more energy return for race day? Think about those, but have a variety that you can switch out with prior to race. You don't want to get to that 3rd week and you're getting shoes and it's a mess because you don't have the time to put the mileage in the shoe. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you have a couple weeks to do that. And
Yeah, you got time.
Folks that work at some of the stores, they can also help you. They can tell you how much mileage you'll get out of a shoe, and you can tell them I'm running a half, so they can also help you a little bit with that.
If you have questions after, you can talk to me too.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? Or otherwise, we will come back to you all. We'll go back to, we have one up there.
There we go. Psych out.
They're just trying to make you walk.
Oh. Yeah, thank you. I'm Yu Ping. I'm also a first time running a half mat, and I live in the city, so sometimes I go around and run 6-7 miles. But I realize that if I want to go above 7, I need some form of hydration in the middle. So I was wondering, is there a way to get hydration in the city but without carrying a water bottle? I've seen people stopping at Starbucks for free water, but is there other ways?
Well, I was going to say I'm still dying to know your preference on belts versus vests, so maybe this is also a good way to segue in how hydration can go with you.
Yep. Well, I would say if you haven't experienced the vest and you're interested, try it go to a store where maybe you have a window to exchange or return, because if you don't like it, then you might have wasted your money, or you might want to donate to somebody that likes the vest. But you want to take a couple things into consideration: how heavy something could be on your chest as a woman, and then also potentially, if you're wearing a belt bag and you put your phone in it, think about leakage. There's a couple of things that really would consider, you have to consider how you run, what do you like to carry? Are you someone that likes to carry, like I said, your phone, maybe you have a watch. You just want to think about, is it gonna get wet? You want to think about how heavy it is on you. But experience both. I would say try both and then go from there. Yeah, you can't really know one without the other. Yeah.
I'm also going to add on to that. With the half marathon, if you are carrying water with you, it has to be handheld or in your pocket. So if you're training with a bladder backpack, you won't be able to use the bladder on race day. So if you're planning on using cups on course, which is great, we have them out. Our volunteers are fantastic at handing them out. You can practice. There are water fountains that are functional all year round in Central Park, down in Prospect Park. So finding out where they are, if you do a quick Google search, you'll find that. So you can kind of map your run around those water stops, or if you can use a handheld bottle or a belt that has the bottles on it. But just remember that on race day, you cannot have a water backpack.
We have a question online about, Gemma, for you, how to keep the motivation up through 10 weeks of training in the winter time, in the dark. The motivation can be hard. How do we keep that motivation going? Maybe for everyone, but maybe start with Gemma.
Join group training. It's a great way to make friends, and it's a great way to keep your motivation up. You're going to have coaches that are going to help you, guide you through the next 10 weeks of your training. If this is your first time or your 10th time, again, it's great to do it with friends. If you don't do group training, find a group, find a club that you can run with that are going to help you reach your goals. That's going to keep you motivated as well.
Awesome. And do we have a group training session that has started or will be starting anytime soon?
Our group training sessions are open right now, and they start next week. NYRR.org group training.
Awesome. You all are just in time if you don't have a group of people to run with. It's actually pretty exciting. Sometimes we're hosting panels here, and there's groups meeting, and they're going out in the dark, and I'm so motivated by them. Any other questions from...
So many good questions online. A runner said, my friend told me not to train in carbon-plated shoes. Can you talk about carbon-plated shoes, what that is, what makes it different than a regular shoe?
Yeah, so the main thing with carbon-plated or just plated shoes in general, a lot of them are going to be built for training for a speedy race or a long-distance race. It's for energy return. It's for that impact. It's going to receive some of that, absorb some of that shock. It doesn't work for everyone. Again, it is one of those things. If you heard about it, you're interested in trying it on, go to your local store, test it out, try it on in-store. The other suggestion is there is a return policy on shoes in different locations. Just make sure you check what the time is. Try it. You have to try it. I can't explain that enough. Like if you are neutral, you wear a neutral running shoe and you were told that you need stability, it could be a good option for you because it does provide some stability in there. Not exactly going to cradle the foot, but it's one of those things. It's a race day shoe. So if you're going to want to run faster, it's definitely going to help you with that. It's definitely going to provide a little bit more speed and energy return, but it's a preference. You can't just say don't do it. You got to try it.
Okay, great. Any folks in the audience have questions, or should we go to a question online? Nope, we can go to an online question.
Cool. Kate, maybe a question for you. A runner had a question about recommendations for warm-up and cool-down warm-ups before their long runs.
First recommendation, do them. I don't want to say it doesn't matter. It absolutely matters what you do, but start with doing them if you don't do them. So warm-ups can look a lot of different ways for people. I know personally, I always start with something that's very dynamic. So I'm doing single leg balances, single leg squats, doing some butt kicks, different types of monster walks, skips, that sort of thing. Personally, my first half mile is always like a very easy jog, maybe even longer if it's a particularly long run. And then the cool down is also essential. You have to recognize that, like, for your nervous system, if you're just ending your run, your nervous system is dialed up, and you want to spend a little bit of time dialing it back down, right? That's going to help with just that heart rate recovery, maybe, returning, giving yourself some grace and saying like, I did that, spending some time mentally with yourself to be like, I just did that. Let me not move on immediately to the next thing that I'm doing, right? I always try not to end my run on my doorstep, because then I've had no time to like process what I've done. So I definitely recommend doing the cool down, both physiologically, but also like to give you that space to reflect and maybe think about things a little bit differently. But again, for your running, you can source that online. There's a lot of great warm-ups. They're very simple. Do something. It doesn't have to be complicated, but definitely, it's like trying to go out and drive your car without warming up the engine in like 0-degree weather, right? I don't know if there's any engineering truth to that, but like we all think about it, right? We're like, I'm gonna go warm the car up because it's cold. Like your body actually does do better with that, because it's not so aggressive when you start running. Your muscles are already activated. They're not light switches. They're more like Christmas tree lights. So you have to like get them all going together.
Great analogies. Do we have any other questions from the audience here? Okay, we'll move on to, we have one right here. Coach Steve? In the blue.
Hi, my name is Manali. I've never done this before, never run a race. But from what I understand, the course is pretty windy, coming off Manhattan Bridge, getting onto the FDR, and it doesn't necessarily give you the opportunity to have training in the wind in those 10 weeks. So how do you navigate that? Like, do you have any tips? Because I'm sure it impacts the way you run.
We haven't seen the weather forecast because we're 10 weeks out, but I would say practicing on those bridges is going to be really important. If you can get up there in the winter, you can get on the Manhattan Bridge, you can get on all the bridges apart from the Verrazano. So if you can practice on them, that's going to be helpful. Hills and also that exposure to the elements.
Okay.
We had a question, trying to remember right now. Oh yeah, about shoes for flat feet and running with flat feet. You talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, so one, I think a lot of people mistake having a flat foot with having low arches, myself included with that. You may just actually have a lower arch that may feel like you're super flat, but I would start with having a look at options that have a little bit more cushioning. And I would also say go get your feet measured. You have to do that because you don't take account that you do sometimes need to go up to a half a size, even up to a full size in running shoes to equate for having a little bit more space in there for those longer runs when your feet swell. I would say a 4 millimeter drop could be cool. I like the More V4. I don't have a necessarily flat foot. I got a low arch, but the More V4 is a great option. It definitely provides exactly what you need under there to feel the comfort. So, yeah.
Okay, great.
Gemma, we have a question online, but I think may apply to people in the room. This is their very first race ever. No 5Ks, 10Ks. They're very nervous. How do we manage those nerves knowing they haven't completed another race, a race since this one coming up?
Firstly, enjoy it. This is so exciting for you. Have the most amount of fun. I would say if you can sign up to a race prior just so you can experience what race day is going to be like. It's going to be a little bit bigger on the half marathon day because it is such a big event. But if you can sign up to one of our 5Ks or of our 10Ks, work that into your plan. That's going to be really helpful, and you'll get to see what it's like on a smaller level for race day. But really enjoy it. It's really exciting being your first big race.
Yes, it is quite exciting. Whether or not you run the half or you run any other races, it's quite an achievement. You signed up. Most people don't. Coach Steve.
We got another one. This runner is from Costa Rica joining us in far away, and they're worried about training in warm weather down there and then coming here to run in March. So I think it applies to a lot of people across the world. How do you kind of train, maybe from a training standpoint, and what to wear in different climates and adjusting to that?
That's a little tricky for me, being that I'm an East Coaster, always have been. I would not necessarily train in the climate with other gear. I think that would actually disrupt what you got going on, because you don't want to overheat and then cause many different other ailments, dehydration, whatever, chafing. You don't want to go that route. Yeah, that's hard. I don't even know how to answer that. I would say try to maybe start with lighter layers just so you understand the idea of taking them off and storing them or tossing them, but that's a tough one. I don't actually know what you should do for that.
Kate or Coach Gemma, do you have any personal experiences to share?
I do have personal experience doing this. Yeah,
Perfect, because I don't.
I would say, please, if you're running in really hot weather right now, do not go and add any more layers. That's not going to be helpful. Run in what you are wearing. Make sure that the top or whatever you plan on wearing on race day. NYC Half, it can be pretty cool. Have clothes that that you can wear in the cool. Make sure they're comfortable. Wear them around the house. Make sure that they're not going to bother you. Just wear it when you can. I think that's going to be really helpful for you on race day. Please don't go adding layers to when it's already really hot. I'm assuming it's really hot. I'm very jealous. It's very cold here.
You can switch.
And then just from a training perspective, I would just be encouraging in that, still trust that your training is going to carry you through, whether it's hot or cold, trust that process of building up your conditioning to be able to meet that mileage. And then maybe just factor in a little bit of grace. Another runner mentioned, hey, it's really windy on the FDR, and I can attest to that. Sometimes whoa. So, listen to Atia's advice that she gave earlier about those layers. Definitely maybe have that wind-breaking layer available. But trust your training. You will be okay. You still sweat in the cold, so whatever you're doing for hydration is still going to be, important. All those things should still be fairly similar. Hey, at least it's not the opposite, right? Training in the cold and then going to 90-degree weather. So.
Except I'm sure folks would love that a little more. Let's do one last question.
Oh man, pressure is now. One last question. So we had a question about spectators. A little early, but gentlemen, maybe what are the best places family and friends can plan to cheer on for their runner along the United Airlines NYC Half course?
Yeah, I'd have a look at the map and see if you are from the city, where's convenient for you to get to, if you can see them in multiple different places. My friends like to meet me down before Manhattan Bridge, and then they make their way up to the park. But have a look and see what's accessible to you if you're in a hotel or if it's from your apartment. Are you going to stay in one spot? Are you going to try catch them on different locations on the course? There's loads of different opportunities to meet your friends. It also depends how fast they are as well. So have that planned out. And also at the expo, I know this is 10 weeks away, but you can ask there's a big map where you can kind of plan out where you are going to be. But make sure you as a spectator know where you're going to be and you're not pinging the person running saying, I'm here, because you're going to be looking for them. Yeah.
And they may not be necessarily looking at their phone the entire time. They're maybe trying to enjoy the race. I do love this question, though, that somebody's 10 weeks out there preparing to cheer someone on. A reminder to all of you, put this on the calendars of your loved ones. Make sure they come out and cheer for you. Okay, folks, so that was the last question for the night. If you do have any specific questions for our panelists, feel free to talk to them after the panel. I want to give a big thank you to Kate, to Atia, and to Coach Gemma, also Coach Steve for helping put this together, AJ, who's making sure our live stream and recording go very well. Please don't blame him for the auto-generated closed captioning. That is not on him. Also want to thank our colleagues here at the Run Center who are always so gracious for letting us host here. And to all of you, congratulations. You signed up. As I said, not everybody signs up. So you've already achieved one thing and you're still 10 weeks out. A lot of time to prepare well and run that race. Thanks, folks. We will see you, I believe, on March 7th, 6 p.m. If you're not here, feel free to join the live stream. Have a great evening.